Hello, I'm Brian Walker with Hardin County Government, and this is Issues and Insights. I'm the Communications Director. Each month as we have these programs, we're going to be speaking to a to a director or a department head about the various things they do through county government that affects your daily life, and you may not even know it. Here with me today, Joey Scott, our Emergency Management Director. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, they may be watching this at night.
Well, that's right.
It was morning when we did it. So let's kind of start off with something that just came up this week that, and our thoughts and prayers go to the folks in Louisville with the tragedy with the plane. Can you explain how and why even us, even though it's not our area, got involved in that?
Absolutely. Again, all of our thoughts and prayers are with that family, all the families involved in the incident, all the first responders as well. It takes a major toll mentally and not only physically but mentally on all the first responders involved. In Hardin County, this is a region. We're in a region here in emergency management. This is Area 4. So we in that region, we all kind of work together. So we put out just a help request from Jefferson County. Basically, people get called up. You've got Bullitt County, who is right next door to Jefferson County. Bullitt County responds in all their fire apparatuses, all their fire departments will, in a major, large-scale event like that. So what we do, I coordinate with a few fire departments here in Hardin County that would lap in and cover their stations because they're gone. They're up there working the incident. I think at one time there was 300 firefighters on the scene of that major plane incident there. So again, Hardin County went up there and just covered the stations, made the runs for them, and just done a great job. And I mean, again, a lot of those guys are volunteer firefighters too.
That's a point I was going to make. And
yeah.
You know, some of these, from what I understood, were out until 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and they have regular jobs and regular lives, and they deal with people on a day-to-day basis in their regular life. They're not full-time sitting at a fire department waiting to go out on a call.
That's right. That's right. Again, you never know when you're a life volunteer firefighter. You know, you're having dinner with your family. You miss dinners, you miss Christmases, you miss holidays. That's just a part of it. So,
it really is.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're sitting there making a whole lot of money doing this. Mm-hmm. You know, this is it. Some of them, in cases, I guess it probably costs them money to do this for a living.
Yes.
And you know, just ultimate respect for that.
Yes, sir.
And what you do for the county, a lot of it overlaps numerous agencies that provide emergency services. Can you kind of touch on your experience? And I believe you've been doing this like 3 decades?
Yes, sir, 30 years.
And then how did you end up doing what you do? Just kind of overall kind of talk
Sure.
about that.
30 years, I started out as a firefighter, began as a volunteer firefighter. I've always remained as a volunteer firefighter. I was hired on the City of Radcliffe Fire Department back in the year 2000. I actually retired from the City of Radcliffe. I own my own business as well, fire and safety business. And then 3 years ago, I took this position here at Hardin County Government as Emergency Management Director. So again, I've had a passion for it. It's a family tradition in my family. My dad was in emergency services over 50 years. So I've been around it since I was knee high. So, yeah. And then, in my job here, it's very unique. I love it because it's not only focused just to emergency management. I get to support all agencies, not all agencies of Hardin County government, but all agencies of emergency services across the county too. So we are more logistics people. We, our job is to get stuff to make your operation successful, whether that be a federal level, that be a state level. I'm the person that handles those requests to get them out there to them.
We've had some pretty significant weather in the last 12 months. We had a pretty harsh winter there for a little bit, and we had, of course, this historic, and I don't mean historic in a positive way, I believe they call it a 100-year flood.
Yes.
And that was pretty time-consuming and heavy there for a number of days, and affected so many people. What was your role in some of those things?
Again, so when the main flood started, we in preparedness mode, we were down there days before the flood actually came in from the Rolling Fork River in the Colesburg region. What's unique about this flood was, it affected 3 major parts of our county. A lot of counties just got one area affected. This was 3 major points of our county. The White Mills area from the Nolan River. You had the Rolling Fork River that came into Colesburg, and also the Ohio River that came into West Point. So it was 3 different time frames we were down there. So my job is to coordinate a command post, set up a command post, and coordinate efforts to come in with mutual aid. We had a lot of mutual aid from Bullitt County. We had mutual aid from Fort Knox coming in to help us out. We had a lot of people working together to evacuate people out of their homes that didn't get out in time. We had people coming in to help evacuate people out of cars that drove through the water. So
And you know, let's talk about that. How many swiftwater rescues, and we're talking about that, we're not talking somebody went swimming and got out too far. We're talking about people who got in water that was going to sweep them away. How many times do you think we've had those rescues just in Hardin County this year?
well, this year I would that last event I would say definitely over 50 calls for rescues.
Now, no way making fun of or making light of or you know, belittling anybody who put themselves in that situation either accidentally or on purpose. How many of those do you think were avoidable and people made a choice to drive into water that they shouldn't have?
You know, most all of them are. There's some instances where I know one did not know because it was a country road and it was dark. It just kind of came upon him and he ran through that water. But again, you know, there's a slogan, turn around, don't drown. You know, that's out there for a reason. And I have to commend the City of Elizabethtown Rescue, City of Radcliffe Rescue, you know, Hardin County Tracers, all of our agencies that come in and provide rescues for Hardin County. They are some of the most talented, skillful people that you will ever meet in this industry, and hats off to them. Understand the training they go through is very rigorous, but they're so dedicated and so prideful in it, and they've done a great job for Hardin County. And we couldn't be more appreciative to have them out there.
And sadly, you know, I was speaking to Dwight from our county road department, and he told me that there were numerous instances where we, as a county government, go out of our way to put up a barrier, and it's very clearly signed, please don't drive, you know, this is dangerous, and close the road. People were moving those barriers and driving through them anyway. They were, and in some instances they were stolen. I'm not sure the reason why, but why you need a road barrier at your house.
Why you need a road barrier, but you know, again, you're risking not only your life, but others that follow that road home as well. Yeah. You know, in the southern portion of our county, we had roads closed for almost 3 weeks. Yeah. That was just impassable of water that we've never seen before because, you know, we had so many sinkholes that was percolating. I mean, they've never been that full. The water table was so concentrated that it was just coming up, so all the time.
And just nowhere for it to go.
That's right.
But across.
That's right.
So let's talk about the southern end of the county and the western end of the county. Our population centers, as we well know, are the Fort Knox, Vine Grove, Elizabethtown, Radcliffe area. There are plenty of people living all over the county, but those are the ones where you have the largest concentration of businesses and industries and travel and homes. We, as a county, and I don't think I'm overstating this, have never had the blessing and sort of have underserved that area, the White Mills area, and that part of the county with an ambulance service. And Mark, unfortunately, wasn't able to be here with us today to speak on specifics, but with your background and overall, you know, how happy are you that we're going to get that 9th ambulance in service and have it stationed in White Mills very soon?
Well, I can tell you it's a big win for emergency services across the whole county because, you know, at the end of the day, we want to, anytime, you know, when I came into this job, that was my #1 priority, was to improve the response times in the western portion of the county because they were, you know, 30 to 45 minutes. And, you know, we worked really hard. You know, I'd like to commend the EMS Director, Mark Peterson, Judge Keith Tall, all of our magistrates, the people of western Hardin County. I think you were at the community forum. They come in the town hall meeting. That's how we conduct business in Hardin County. We came together as a community, sit down and weighed out our best options, and everything's worked out for the positive. You know, we're really excited to get an ambulance down there. It's well overdue. I think the people down there is very excited too.
And let's kind of refresh for those who may have not heard the whole story or only got a piece of it, or maybe this is new information. We have 4 reserve ambulances that are fully capable of being put into service.
Yes.
And those are kept for when another rig is down or there's mechanical failure or wreck or what have you. or large-scale event.
Sure.
So we didn't have to buy an ambulance to put a ninth one into service. Now it's where could we put it and how to staff it.
That's right.
Let's talk about how we were able to find a place to put that, and that's a really positive story.
Yeah, again, it's no secret volunteer fire departments are struggling right now. And it's not just Hardin County, it's the nation as a whole. That there's been people are busy, they have to work. So that target time from 8 to 4:30 in the afternoon, that's a bad time because really there's nobody's there to take those calls.
Well, my father, when I was growing up, was a firefighter. He owned a small store in a small town. And if it was a fire, he just locked the doors and put up a sign and said, "I've gone to fight a fire." And this, we spoke earlier, it costs you money to do these things. You don't do it because you're trying to get rich. We don't really have that as much anymore. The way the world has gotten, you don't have as many people that own their own business, or they live and work and stay in a very small area. You've got people that might be a firefighter in their community and they live in Rineyville, but they work in Louisville. Mm-hmm. So as you said, they're gone in the daytime, and you'd think the daytime would be easier to get a fire put out, but it's really harder.
Yeah, and again, commending all the business owners that will release their employees to go to emergency scenes during the daytime, during work hours, because there's still some out there will do that. For the most part, there's not. So it's a struggle for us to get minimum staffing during those hours in the county, and of course, even just getting volunteer firefighters. We came to a point where we knew something had to happen down there. The White Mills Fire Department and West 84 Fire Department came together and actually merged.
That was earlier this year.
Yes, that was earlier this year, and they merged together. And once that happened, we went down to a meeting, and that was the first step towards improving the emergency services in the western portion of the county. And that was the first step we seen to possibly get an ambulance down there as well. After having some meetings with them, it seemed like overnight they had the facilities ready to go for us.
And you're not really overstating that.
No.
That community came together and raised money, and they had a pie and cake auction.
Yes, sir.
And had a lot of donations, and people said, we want to prepare this in case we can get an ambulance from the government put in here. And the work was completed by a crew from the Hardin County Detention Center.
That's right.
And it was only $25,000 because they were able to get a lot of those things offset. And there was no guarantee that we would be able to fund it or that would be an ambulance available, but it all worked out, and they're going to get a full-time rig there.
Yes, sir. And and that's with what you said about the Hardin County Detention Center with Big Josh Lindblom, our jailer. Everything that he and his crews do for our community, for our services, our emergency services, is amazing. Understand they just painted 3 fire stations in the western portion of the county last week, in 1 week alone. Anytime that we call upon them, they step up to the plate. Again, removing snow from our firehouses during the bad winter months. Just amazing crew of guys down there.
Mowing cemeteries.
That's right.
A lot of different things.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about rave alerts, especially with the possibility of bad weather coming at any time. Mm-hmm. Or, something like what happened in Louisville. We don't prepare for every day, we prepare for those days that are different.
That's right. That's right.
Why would I want a rave alert on my phone?
Again, I think it was front and center during this last disaster Louisville had, or Jefferson County, had. You've seen where they put out a lens alert. That is their rave. That's their public notification alert. We have rave here in Hardin County. We love the rave system. Again, sirens are great. We have the CAL system here. We have a lot of sirens that still are active in Hardin County, but again, we're getting to a point where they need to be phased out because they've met their age. So a lot of them are 30 to 35 years old of age. So they understand they're outdoor weather sirens.
That's something a lot of people have never really, either it wasn't made clear to them or they didn't understand. I can hear it in my home, but it wasn't designed for that. This was designed for if you were outdoors to warn you to seek shelter in an imminent situation. But let's talk about, like you said, it's not just the age of them, and it's not as simple as, well, we'll just take this siren down and put a new one up there. It's wildly expensive, and there are updated technologies that allow us to supersede that. You know, if you're asleep in the middle of the night in your home, you can't hear that siren, but you've got your phone there, and that rave alert goes off, and boy, you'll hear it.
That's right. And again, and understand how rave works is, you know, we can set our own rave off, but we get our notifications, and it's automatically programmed with the National Weather Service. So once a weather alert comes out, it will activate our rave as well. So sometimes you'll get multiple alerts come out on your phone. You're like, well, I just got one, why am I getting two? That's because we want to be redundant and not have enough. So we do that. We have those two alerts come out. And then also we have iPause. iPause is a national integrated, goes to all wireless devices. And again, I'm sure you've heard those go off many times for different Amber alerts and everything else. So, but
it's not often. So I think that's the thing that makes them stand out, is that it's not like you're getting these every week.
That's right.
You know, so when you get them, it's like, okay, this is something I need to pay attention to.
Yes.
Weather radios. Would you recommend people have one in their home or their office, and how would you get one?
Absolutely. You know, and I always say have two different means of backup. Two different means of backup for notification systems in your home. You can any hardware store carries weather radios. Sometimes you'll see, if you'll follow different social media sites, they'll might a giveaway on them. I know a lot of grocery stores carry weather radios too. They're a great thing to have. You know, they're battery operated. That's a plus. And then also there's crank radios too. But again, those weather radios is just a backup system to those sirens. So because again, you're inside your home, you're not always going to hear a siren outside your home.
Weather is always an issue. Could be flooding, could be a power outage, could be a snowstorm. You know, preparedness is a lot of what you do. What should I have in my home all the time, just in case something bad happens?
Well, obviously, you know, your basic necessities of flashlights, batteries, and keeping water. You know, 1 gallon of water per day per person of your home is a good rule of thumb to use. Having extra blankets, you know, and you do your preventative maintenance as well. Make sure all your windows are sealed up good for the winter time. Make sure you got proper insulation in your home. Because when that power goes out, you want to maintain what heat you have inside your home before the power goes off. Right. But again, having generators used correctly. You know,
do not put them in your garage. Do not put them in your house.
Yeah. Again, you know, we talk about that, but you know, we were all scarred by the 2009 ice storm here, and we've seen everything from people taking grills, lighting propane grills to stay warm. Again, when you get to that point of survivability, you'll do some odd things. So, but don't, you know, just there's plenty of different systems out there for different generators. They've got the integrated generators. A lot of people is going to those now. But you know,
because you just flip a switch and turn the generator on, and
once your power goes off, it kicks on. So. Again, there's new technology comes out. Just follow the technology on generators. I mean, because there's so many different types coming down now. It's really exciting to be in this time because they're putting more emphasis on preparedness.
Let's talk a little bit more about EMS. And again, Mark's not here, but with your background, I think you can speak to some of this. When people call 911, they're not calling because they're shouldn't be calling for just common things. It's an emergency, and they're nervous and they're scared, and they may not know what to say. What do they need to have prepared, or what do they need to be able to tell that dispatcher?
Again, so and I'll speak a little bit on our 911 as well too, because sometimes we have people call in that are nervous and scared, and they forget what to say, but that's okay. If you can, the main things is letting us know an address, letting us know what the nature of the illness is or the injury. So we know exactly what we're responding to. The more information, the better. The more information you can give is better. Now, you're not always going to get that with children, because children's going to tell you the worst of the worst and hang up, But that's okay, because our 911 system's enhanced 911, so we can track it back to where that call came from, and we know exactly where we're going.
Yeah. CPR, defibrillators, basic first aid skills. Where would somebody learn about those things? How would I learn how to just do the most basic things in case something happened?
I know there's a lot of different classes being taught out there now. Red Cross teaches classes. We teach classes at EMS. Watch our county website. You might know a guy that takes care of that.
I've met him.
So we'll post throughout the year. We'll have at least 2 times a year. We'll have a CPR or first aid course. And when I say CPR and first aid, that also covers AEDs. So, understanding AEDs, you think AEDs, that emergency providers just carry them. That's not true. They're in every store now. They're on every gymnasium you go to, every gym you work out in, every shopping center you go to. Those are for public use. That's what they're. So being trained, you can save someone's life.
You really could.
Yes,
you really
sir.
could. What's it mean when a place is declared a disaster area? You hear that after a major incident, and who declares that?
Again, so different levels of different declarations, and I think we've all learned that in the last little bit with our disasters we have handled here. Again, so it starts at a county level. We declare here. Our Judge Tall declares here, and that goes up to the state level. Once they get
But that's based on input and advice from people like yourself.
That's right. Based on what the damage is in our area, what the long-term damage is in our area, financial damage in our area, what's the monetary end is going to look like. So again, once we make that declaration, that's when the state picks it up, and then the state starts funding all of this operation for us here. So, and then once again, like the floods, we went to the federal level. That goes to the President of the United States desk, whether it's individual assistance or it's public assistance. You see that, when he signs those declarations, a lot of people come into your area and a lot of benefits start rolling in. I think during this last time we recouped about $4 million that was coming from the federal government, from FEMA, to Hardin County residents.
So are there any things that we may have missed, something that you taught your kids, or that somebody said, tell me a couple of things I need to make sure and know about anything, regarding fire, emergencies, what have you.
Again, I just want to touch a little bit on the burning season, because we get a lot of calls in the office about this. Yes, there is it's not a non-burning ordinance. It's just a burn ordinance. You cannot burn from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The only times it's legal to burn is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. from October 1st to December 15th.
What's the reason for that?
Due to the humidity, also the fall foliage we have right now. Again, these times change during the spring because everything's greening up. So again, you'll see, and we'll still get, these time of years, we'll get no burn days, period. So again, the United States Forestry website, Kentucky Forestry website's a good one to watch, because they will issue those no burn days. And usually I will communicate with yourself to send those out as well too, to let you know burning days because of wind and conditions of the foliage. This weekend coming up, beginning of gun season, deer hunting, we ask you to maintain your safety with that, because we'll have a lot of people in the woods. Maintaining safety with.
I'm seeing a lot of orange.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not only gun safety. It's just your regular. Police in the woods yourself. I know a lot of people smoke. You go out in these woods and you lay a cigarette down. You might be just been lucky enough to get granted to hunt on someone's land. Now you've started a forest fire. So, and that spreads to other people's farms as well too. So, be courteous and be safe out there.
So we're hiring at the EMS, and again, that would be more Mark's department.
Yes.
We've got opportunities for people part-time, people full-time. Can you explain, because we actually pay our part-time people per hour more, can you explain why that is?
Again, and I read a lot of comments, and I'm glad that there's involvement from our post that talking about that. But again, what people don't understand is that the part-time is getting paid more because of not figuring in the overtime. We have overtime figured in, and it's that's going to be on your check too. So that's kind of the reason behind that. So a full-time 24/48 employee is going to get guaranteed overtime figured in their check as well.
What's a 24/48? People may not know that.
24/48. They work one 24-hour shift. So from 8 o'clock one morning to 8 o'clock the next morning, they're at that EMS station. That's also the fire department schedules too, that work fire department. So that means that they're one day there without seeing their families and making runs. You know, our EMS service in Hardin County is very busy. You know, I think between 14 and 15,000 calls per year.
It's crazy.
Some days those guys make 90 runs. 90 runs in one shift.
Between 8 ambulances.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. They're very taxed. They're very busy. Just remember that when they approach you at an intersection, you know, just remember those guys have had a long day.
Closing thoughts, anything else you think folks might want to know?
Yeah, I think, you know, judging by the disasters we've had, I love this county. Love this county. We live in a special place.
We do.
The people of this county is just amazing. I've seen it firsthand now. Just be good to your neighbors. Keep checking on people. You know, our elderly generation out there that needs help, you know, check on them. Through snowstorms, through any kind of storms possible. If they need something, just help them out.
So, Rave Alerts, how do I get one of those? How do I download that?
Again, there's multiple different ways, but the best way to do it is just go on our website, and it's hardincountyky.gov. If you'll get on there, and as soon as that page comes up, there's a SKU. You can scan it right in there and then start the process. So if you have problems, you know, you can call in to somebody and we'll help you get on that.
Sure. Joey Scott, Emergency Management Director for Hardin County Government. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
This has been Issues and Insights. I'm Brian Walker, Communications Director for Hardin County Government, and we'll see you next month.